Hello, welcome back to BlenderSushi channel. In this video, we're gonna invite another special guest app. This is like the Versus series. This is not the live noding series. This is the Versus, and then today we're gonna take a look at Houdini for image tracings. Okay, Houdini, it's a node-based program, and I use it time to time, and I actually have one like a professional license for it, but I'm using the free versions, and you can use the free versions to do like some kind of magic. For example, in this case, I'm gonna use the tracing ability of Houdini. So trace nodes. You know, I did a lot of noding using Blender and add-ons such as sphere chalk and animation nodes. So every now and then, if I really need like something that's a little bit more complex, or if I need a nodes like powerful nodes like that Houdini already have, I will use Houdini. Actually, Houdini has this trace object nodes that actually will trace an image. You probably if you ever use like software like Adobe Illustrator or maybe like Inkscape, you know there's like a functions that allows you to import an image and then do like a live tracing of the image. I'll show you real quick. So this is just the node, the trace object. I jump into the objects, and then here we can see image input. Currently it's set to default of circle. That's why we are getting this circle. But we can use our own image. In this case, I'm gonna use Mario run and jump. This is I can show you the original image. Let it load for a bit. So the idea is just to trace like a normal bitmap image and turn it into a vector or like a mesh artwork that we can use inside Blender. And Houdini Trace node is probably one of the most advanced, or I would say it's one of the fastest and then the most flexible. You can see the result already. Let me hide that center origin gnomon. Okay. Yeah, at the moment it's a little bit heavy. If I look at it, okay, it has 260,000 points, 1,554 primitives, which is the polygon, and then it has 1 point attribute, doesn't have anything else. I can actually play around with the threshold, but before I do that, I'm not gonna go too much detail with this node. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is actually like already a mesh being traced, and it's ready to be exported to Blender. I'm gonna actually resample some of the shapes here. If I increase the step size, it will resample the shapes. Soon I will switch to Blender. Let me prepare Blender and hide this guy. Let Houdini calculate this. If there is like a Python algorithm that does the tracing this well, I think we can port it into Blender using sphere chalk maybe. If you know any Blender add-on that actually does image tracing, please let me know in the comments below. I search everywhere. Perhaps I could find the ones that use like Java or like a processing. The good thing is because they are like an open source tool, you can just use it. I'm using Houdini. Houdini free versions allows you to do tracings and export. Actually, if you have the full versions, you can kind of do like image sequence, but yeah, it's really quite powerful. So this is now already reduced. You can see only 700 primitives and 65,000 something points. It's a lot reduced now because of these resample shapes. I'm not gonna do anything else. For now, I'm just gonna export it. I'll save it first. Save as Mario tracing. Save. Oh, by the way, this is of course an artwork from Nintendo. They're soon to be releasing this Mario run game for the iOS. I'm really excited. I'm using this image. I'm just borrowing it from Nintendo. Hopefully they don't mind. It's a fan artwork, and I'm doing this like a woodcut kind of design. I'm using this because it's available. Um, yeah, I think I can export this out. Maybe I can even resample it more, like 6 times. It's now even lighter and should be good for the demo in Blender. Safe geometry is always uh, the way you can kind of export out the data from Houdini. Of course, don't tell side effects that you're using this feature, but anyhow, maybe they allow people to do this just to test Houdini. This is Mario tracing. But if you really find Houdini useful, you can buy the license, like the apprentice license, or no, the like a indie artist license. It's not too expensive, like $300 maybe for 1 year. But the pro versions can go up to 5,000. Okay, except now I'm exporting the OBJ. OBJ is not like vector, but it's kind of like a vector as well. You know, because you can render it out at a really high resolutions. If you got the nice shades with a lot of resolutions, it should be good. And this artwork, by the way, the original is from Nintendo, but I modified the image using an app called Picasso. They have a new app called Picasso Coloring, allowing you to create this kind of abstract shapes for you to do the coloring. I thought that's really neat. I really like it, and if I made my own artwork or use my own photo, I can turn it into abstract work that I can export out and then just bring it into Blender and then do a little bit more. Currently it's saving it. Okay, it takes a while. I don't know why, but if you have the full version of Houdini, there is an ROP output driver where you can export out like an OBJ sequence. You can't do it in these versions. In this version, you can only export it out as BGO, which is Houdini on file type. Anyhow, um, let's switch to Blender. File, import OBJ, and I usually keep vertex order and then turn on polygroups. Let's go to the desktop and import Mario tracings. It's only 1.47 megabyte. Import OBJ. We have our Mario artwork. There's a little bit of, sometimes you get this kind of maybe it's overlapping or something with the shapes. Maybe it's I don't know what it is, but I think you can kind of clean it up in Blender. I have not tried this, but if I duplicate this and then convert it to, let me save it first. Mario tracing Houdini Blender 001. If I convert this into, what is this? This is a mesh. Convert to curve. Hopefully it doesn't take too long time. Okay, it's pretty fast, you know. This is cool. This is the curve version with Blender curve. I really love it because it's really simple. You can say 2D or 3D. Sometimes this is a flat curve, so you can turn it into 2D. And with 2D flat curve, you really get a clean curve that you can just extrude out, you know. It's really that simple to get this kind of clean tracings. Thanks to Houdini for this, you can actually print this out and create a stamp, but probably not using a Nintendo artwork. Using your own artwork, this is a super cool design idea. Another way is if we use let's switch to animation nodes. First of all, I'm gonna group this guy, and then I'm gonna separate loose part, and then wait a little bit. There are around 651 polygon face on this mesh object. Maybe switch to Houdini back for a bit. Let's delete this guy, we don't need. Trace. Houdini has random color random, if I'm not wrong. Color random nodes. It's pretty cool. It does the random coloring of the shapes. We can tell, okay, for the primitive or the polygon, just do like a random color. You see, and you get this result. And you can randomize the seed. That's definitely useful. But we know that currently the color is in the primitive attributes. We want it to be point attributes if you want to read it inside Blender. So we can promote attribute. This is all kind of the basic stuff that I kind of use often, but it's pretty useful. Now I can promote primitive attributes to point attributes, and then the primitive attributes is the color. Now it's a point attributes. We can actually use it inside Blender. So if I export this as instead of OBJ cannot bring the color data. You use PLY. So Mario tracing PLY. Except it's gonna take a while. I'm gonna go back to Blender. Blender still thinking. Maybe I should have separate the loose part. I should have converted to curve first and then separate the mesh that way. Let me delete Blender. I don't know. Maybe because I'm recording, it takes a while, but normally it's pretty fast. I'm gonna convert it to curve as well first. I think it's gonna make it a lot of cleaner. See how is Houdini going? I think Houdini is done. We can close Houdini. We don't need it anymore. Open Blender tracing, and then this guy, okay, convert it again to curve. This curve actually get rid of a lot of useless shapes. Switch to 2D. See, it's a lot cleaner. Doesn't have overlap, funky overlap. I'm gonna use this file save as again. I'm not gonna extrude it in using modifier. Actually, a lot faster. Solidify is a good way to extrude as well, but yeah, you can see the thickness. Yeah, don't worry about that. I'm just gonna switch it back to mesh. Actually, separate a loose part here and then convert back to mesh. Save. I'm gonna group it. Control G. Separate loose part. Hopefully this doesn't take too long time. It says faces 44,552. I might have done something stupid there. I'm thinking to bring it to sphere chalk or animation nodes to give it a random color. First of all, if I import the PLY that I exported from Houdini, you will see there's a color with this guy, Mario tracing color. Import PLY. PLY doesn't have any option. It's just bring in the data, and we want the color data from Houdini. So we have this. Switch to cycles render, and then you can see here under object data we can see a call. This is from Houdini. Go to compositing, use the cycle nodes, and then here instead of diffuse, I'm gonna use attribute emission. Plug in the color vertex attribute into this color, and then we can plug into that guy, and we have color from Houdini. For unknown reason, I found the color is not perfectly matching the Houdini one. Maybe there is a conversion from Houdini, or maybe Houdini didn't export it using the correct color. Maybe Houdini refers the color. I don't know what it is. I think Houdini refers the color. Anyhow, you get the color like that, right? If we switch back, I'm gonna close this one. I think the other Blender has finished the separations. Yeah, they're separated. How many objects do we have? 344. That's actually pretty good. It doesn't. I think the conversion to curve really simplify the details. It really the funny thing is it's only getting the kind of like the inverted of the Mario here. Anyway, it's still pretty cool artworks that you can work with. This guy, I'm gonna set origin to geometry, and I will use you can see the center point of its geometry. This is really useful. Sometimes you have this weird lot of details there, unnecessary. You should clean it up. Anyway, switch to animation nodes. I'm gonna use animation nodes for this. Where is animation nodes? This guy. From current transform, just get the origin, the default position of its geometry, and then I will assign materials, and this material should have object color because we're gonna colorize the object color. Control L, and then assign, make links of materials of all objects into just that material. Switch to compositing, make it full screen. Switch to animation nodes, and then we have this objects from group, and then we're gonna turn off auto, always do the loop. Objects, color, object attribute, color, plug this guy in, color, the value we just gonna randomize it, combine color, oops, combine color node, we're gonna randomize the color, HSV. HSV give like a spectrum color. Let's use RGB for now. Random number. Have a bunch of them for RGB. Index into the seed, and output into RGB. Yeah, there you go. It's our random looking Mario. If I currently is plug into the index, I could just use a frame number. Math. Put this guy in. Let's get to that guy. Let's get to that guy. Okay. So now we have this Mario being randomized. I was expecting it to have more shapes. I think curve actually indeed infers the shapes, or it's only picking the major shapes, but it gets rid of the in-between shapes. but you still have this really cool artworks. And you know me doing this quite often in my live noding video. This is actually, maybe I shouldn't do this in this live noding anyway. Yeah, that's a way you can use Houdini to do the tracings, and then you export it out and to do further work in Blender. So yeah, so this is it for the versus video. If you have any comments or feedbacks, you can leave it down below. Thanks again for tuning in to Blender Sushi channel. I'll see you in the next video.